So, hello everyone. As most of you probably know, my name is Robert Wolf, and you are participating in the 96 Boards Open Hours sponsored by Lenaro right here. Now, this is our 18th episode, and with that, our 8th episode into the break after our season 1. Now, I wanted to just kind of talk real quickly about what we're going to be covering today in the show and what you can look forward to in the shows to come. So with that, we have our announcements and some fun coming up for you. This is actually an exciting show. We have Jorge Ortiz here, who is from Lenaro. He's going to be talking to you about the kernel virtual machine. He wrote a blog this last week and released it on the 96 Boards blogs. We have our announcements about the Dragon Board 410C mini-series, which is going to be coming up in the next episode, and then the 2 after that. So we have a 3-part mini-series coming up. And then we'll be taking questions like we do every open hours. Now, I just wanted to kind of reaffirm everyone here that you know, this is your show, right? This isn't my show. This isn't Lenaro's show. This is everyone's show. This is for the community. We're here. We want you to use this as a medium to get your ideas across to everyone. Get your questions out. Get your questions answered. Use your knowledge to help the community. Everyone here is here to learn. Everyone here is here to help. And so I'd like you all to use this as your medium to kind of get involved, right? All right, so yeah, there we go. Announcement said. It looks like we got quite a few people kind of joining and leaving here, but hopefully they can tune in and check out the video later to get those announcements. We'll be making more at the end as we always do. So, with the spirit of kind of almost welcoming in the next season, post-Connect, which is probably the beginning of October, we're kind of have a little bit of a ramp up towards that, right? So I brought Jorge Ortiz in here today. He released a blog last week on kernel virtual machine for the high keyboard, and I want to share this blog really quick with you. It is right here. 96boards.org/blog. I had it saved, but it looks like I lost the page. And for anyone who is interested, you can go check this blog out. Jorge is actually going to go over it right now. So Jorge, we got you here. Do you mind maybe kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and then diving into the blog for a second?
Okay. So my name is Jorge. I joined Lenaro a couple of years ago now. I've been doing software for nearly 20 years, mainly in England and France and in the US. Now I'm back in Spain, which I find it very warm and difficult to focus, but I'll get there. The motivation for this blog, of this entry that I'm making to the 96 Boards blogs, is because I wanted to learn a little bit about the KVM, how it works, how it basically converts Linux into an hypervisor. So I was curious about how to get this done with one of the 96 boards. And I found the whole situation to be very stable and very simple, mainly because the good work that the virtualization team have done on 96 boards with high key and 64-bit architecture. So I don't know how to share the blog, if it's the right thing to do, but I'll try sharing the screen. I don't know what's coming in there. All right, I think I can do this. I don't know if you can see the blog entry.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. Okay. So basically, what I wanted to do is, as I said, try to find out how KVM does it work. That's all the work that needs to do. So I chose the high keyboard because I was aware that it was supported. Having said that, in terms of finding out, how KVM operates, I had one option of using Chemo, which also is supported on the high key, but I wanted to use something a bit more lightweight. So I was aware of this KVM tool, which is a much simpler virtualization package, which more limited set of virtualized devices, but it's good enough. I mean, to see how KVM works. KVM tool, I think, is a very simple and nice tool. It's been written from scratch like a couple of years ago. I think it's about 5,000, 6,000 lines of code, and basically allows you to put a guest on basically on Haki in this case. So in the blog, I put an entry just to make clear that Chemo is supported on Haki, and that's something that you can do anytime by running this command. And then I went into how to install and run KVM tool, because for me it's the easiest way to understand a little bit better about KVM. The installation of the tool on the Haki it can be done in two ways. If you're in a hurry and just want to get your guest running, just apt-get as a package manager and you install KVM tool. That will get you going if you want to run your guest in there. The KVM tool basically also has some requirements in terms of what you need in your config, in your Haki config, because basically what it does is it's going to allow you to run a guest with the same OS that you already have running as your host. So if you have a 64-bit ARM, you will run a 64-bit ARM as well as a guest. So when you're running, you need to check first if you got all the configs that are required in the KVM tool README. One thing about this blog entry is that I put a lot of hyperlinks to a lot of instructions that I think they are very useful if you read the post. So there are links to the READMEs, some of the links to the source code, documentation. So all in all, I think there's a very good information in here. So once you enable the configs, one important thing, the thing is, I don't know how many of you have run KVM tool before, but one thing about ARM64 is that ARM64, to be able to boot the kernel has to be uncompressed. By default, the KVM tool requires compressed kernels. So basically, you can run KVM run on 86. If you execute this command there, it will boot a virtualized environment, but basically picking up the image from the boot partition, right? And this is typically compressed. This will fail on Haki because you need to feed an uncompressed kernel. So if you see this situation, all you need to do is kill the instance, which you can do simply by calling kill, stop the process, and then generate an uncompressed version of the image. It's basically you have to go to boot, take whatever Linux you're running and gzip it and feed it to the KVM. Another thing that I like about the KVM tool is that the GetOS basically is the root file system is virtualized from the host. So basically, the host uses virtfs to share some files from your home, basically from your home OS. It uses that basically to create the guest root file system. And basically, I show here a list of the different of how the root file system looks on the guest. So you see links to the host file system. So that's very handy. If you just want to share files and you want to copy things, you don't need to mount over NFS. So you can share it this way. Another good thing about the KVM tool as well is that it comes with NAT support. So basically, it has an IP address already functional, and you can ping the web. By default, you have this IP address, but you can change it. If you basically, I put a link there. If you want to change the IP address, you can do as well. Then here I wrote a simple command to run the KVM tool, and as an example. So that basically will get you going with the basic functionality. Another reason why I chose the KVM tool is because, as I say, it's very easy to trace. So it might be useful for you that you clone the KVM tool if you want to trace it in any ways. And at the same time, in your host, if you install the trace command, let's say you can see all the operations that the KVM does under the hood. You can trace everything from interrupts. I mean, every single ioctl you can trace, and that gives you a better understanding of how KVM does its things. And a good example with KVM tool on how to create a guest environment to run your virtualized OS. So maybe I've gone very fast about the block entry. I think it's better to read a little bit more carefully. But the idea is that you can use the Haki 96 boards to learn about KVM, to trace KVM, to run your guest OS with it. You can use Chemo or you can use KVM tools. And I think as a platform is solid. And I use it for a few weeks just to trace this, understand a little bit of KVM, and I thought it was a quite good platform.
So Jorge, I got
Yes.
a question for you actually, and I hate to throw you on the spot, but so I guess what kind of real world applications, or first of all, what would someone use KVM for? Say, I know we got a question on the chat. Someone asked, what are the possible use cases for using KVM in real world IoT? But I mean, in general, I guess maybe you could expand on that. What would the everyday person use KVM for?
Well, basically, if you want to run different instances of Linux, I mean, if you want to run something in basically in an environment that you could want to start and stop, for instance, I don't know, and there are just so many uses. I don't know if you know. With Chemo, you can create your virtual environment or a virtual OS. Chemo gives you it's different from KVM tool. Now with Chemo, you can run if you want Windows or Linux. You can have this sort of experiments. What will I use it for? For instance, I have different Ubuntu versions on my machines. I have CentOS for when I want to debug something on CentOS. I have different distros. So basically, you have a number of distros on your Ubuntu machine, but you will use KVM for that, basically to accelerate the performance. Because one of the things about KVM is that KVM doesn't do any emulation, right? It just performs IOCTOs to set up the virtual memory in the address space and simulate I/O. If you don't use KVM, when you use Chemo, you're going to have to do a lot of emulation and performance is going to degrade a little bit. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but it depends on your need. So some people really want to have different distros running on the same machine to avoid going from one laptop to another laptop. That's the sort of thing that I use it for. Different packages, different environments, flexibility.
So yeah, I mean, that answered my question, so to say. I mean, I remember we had a call, I think it was episode 6 or 5 from season 1 with Bill Fletcher. He talked about Docker, and I kind of want to know how you would compare this to Docker, or if Docker is kind of a virtual. I know it is kind of like a virtual instance, right? But there's another question on here that says from JM-B. How do we handle capacity and performance issues if we run multiple workloads? And these boards are capable of handling capacity and performance issues, or are these boards?
Well, the high key that I'm using is limited in RAM, for instance. There's nothing I can do about that. If you look at the example where I booted my virtual machine, I gave it only 256 megs of RAM. So there are limitations, that's for sure. I mean, this is not a server, but still, in the case that I'm using as an example, all I wanted to do was understand how KVM does its work, right? That's the use I was giving to this system. Of course, if you can go to a server where you have a lot of RAM and a lot of resources, and yeah, it will run much better. But in the case of Hikey, for virtualization, all I will use it mainly is to learn about virtualization in ARM64. That's what the tool is good for. Obviously, running a number of OSs with 1 gig of RAM is probably not a good idea, right? I mean, you're going to have to be page out most of the time. But if you just want to learn about KVM, about 64-bit architecture and ARM, I think that's a very good platform. And I mean, I don't think you're going to get any better, any cheaper than that. So
a good platform to at least test it on and play with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great learning tool. I mean, otherwise you can spend your dollars in a server, and then that is different. But as a learning tool, if you want to step back to the server, to step up later on to the server space, the Hikey is a great board.
Yeah, and everyone who is in the Coursera course that might be logged in right now to the call, I mean, it doesn't hurt to go play around with it, right? Like it's something fun to do with your 96 boards, your Dragon Board 410C. Maybe you can adapt it over there, figure something out. I wanted to share this right here. You have a link to one of our older videos. It was episode 6 with Bill Fletcher. He talks about Docker, and he actually has a projector running behind him, running multiple instances within his Dragonboard 410C. So this is also kind of a comparable topic.
Yeah, there is something with the Dragon board doesn't support KVM.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
It has a different bootloader. So if you wanted to understand how virtual machines work, HiKey is the platform that I would recommend. Of course, you can do it the same thing on an x86 system if you want, but then you won't learn about 64-bit ARM. So it depends on your interest.
Okay, great, cool. I think did another question, or Mark kind of posted in here. We'll read it out loud. Another use of KVM is for security, so anti-cracking, separate applications or user interfaces from one another with only well-controlled network connections between them. Good point. Mm-hmm. Cool. So thank you very much, Jorge, for the presentation there. We really appreciate it. You check it out. Everyone feel free to check out the blog. I don't know. Does anyone have any more questions for him? Feel free to post in the chat now. We're gonna kind of move on here.
Just one thing. Sorry, just one thing that was important in the blog. Again, for learning about KVM, is enabling the ftrace functionality of the kernel. So if you trace the KVM events, you can see how everything is handled. So basically, you start ftrace and then start doing things on your guest, and you'll see how KVM handles the KVM tool requests. So it's a very nice and clean package. The KVM tool and the KVM support that we have on HiKey. Oops, sorry, I can't hear you. You're on mute. Rob.
Will you be here for the rest of the call?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if anyone comes up with more questions while Jorge is here, feel free to throw them up in the chat. We'll get him back on. Thank you, Jorge. Appreciate that. So Deepak actually asks, I think it will help us in debugging some kernel issues. That's a question. So I don't know, Jorge, you want to grab that one?
Sorry, which question? I don't see that.
Deepak asked in the chat, I think it will help us in debugging some kernel issues.
Yeah, well, that's another good thing as well. You can run GDB on a guest machine, of course. So you can analyze all the boot stuff.
And go ahead and refer to David Mandala's blogs on GDB, DDD. Mm-hmm. The blogs were posted not too long ago. You can go to the 96boards.org/blog and check out those blogs. Great. So we have.
Sorry, Robbie, if you want, I can do a small demo. I mean, just so people see how it boots. Let me just.
That would be great. No, that would be awesome. Do you mind?
No, I think I have it here. Just want to make sure that it chooses the right extent. Give me a second.
So I don't know if everyone's noticed yet, but I'm trying to look into the camera a little more. Someone brought that up to me and said, "Hey, look into the camera when you're talking." So I'm trying to do that. I hope it doesn't look silly.
I don't know if you can see the screen.
We can.
So basically, this is running on HiKey. You can see the 8 cores and the memory. So when I execute the LKVM command, which is basically giving a console with 256K of RAM and 2 cores, and specify the serial port, what I'm doing there is starting a new OS. You are starting a new instance of Linux with its own root file system, and just a couple of cores. Okay, so basically you can trace the whole boot up sequence in ARM and see how the virtual machine operates. That's all, really. You can put breakpoints. You can do any sort of analysis that you want. That's all I wanted to share. It's as simple as that, really.
Great, thank you. We got a question on the on the chat here regarding kind of another topic real quick. But I would be interested if anyone goes through Jorge's blog or finds anything that they had trouble with. Maybe we can get him to come back next week and maybe address something if someone has questions after the main section of our Dragon Board 410C miniseries. So if Jorge feels like coming back and we have extra time, you run through his blog and find something, it'd be great to hear from anyone who attempts to run KVM on the high key.
Yeah.
So we have a question here about installing Linux on the Dragon Board. This is from guest 38. Not sure if that's a glitch or if he or she is actually in here as guest 38. But how do you install Linux on Dragon Board without a screen like the Raspberry Pi 2? So there's two things. Like the Raspberry Pi 2 is actually running the distribution off the SD card, whereas the Dragon Board is going to be running it off the eMMC, off the onboard storage. We have Lawrence in here. I know the answer to this. I don't know if Lawrence wants to chime in, but essentially there's the fast boot method. You could do that, and you would install the console version, which is just the kind of shell of it. You don't have any display, window display. Those images are available on the 96 boards GitHub. Documentation GitHub. You can find all of the fast boot images. Lawrence, did you want to chime in there?
Yeah, I'll put in a little bit. You can do it totally blind.
There you go.
I am online. You can do it totally blind. You simply connect a keyboard to your board, put your SD card in that you boot from, wait about 25 seconds. That should be lots of time for it to come up to the installer. And then the letter I does the install, and the enter key actually starts the install. So you don't have to move the mouse to select the image and then select OK. So you can do I and enter. And then you have to wait a few minutes. And at that point, it will come up to the reboot menu. You have to blindly assume it got to there. And then you can pull the SD card out, repower the board up, and it should come up to Linux. And you can check that it came up to Linux using the serial console that is available on the low-speed connector. Or you can at least look at the blinky lights and make sure it's blinking. So it's not the most elegant, but that would work.
Great, yeah. So that's using the SD card method and kind of blindly doing it. But for those of you who don't know, Lawrence King, he was one of the main people on the Dragon Board team. He's been through all the iterations. He's going to be a part of he's going to be a big part of the 3-part Dragon Board 410C mini-series that is coming up in the next episode, right? So we'll have a nice big introduction of Lawrence. We're going to give him some time to talk about himself. I'm really glad that he came in and to participate a couple weeks beforehand. So this is really nice having you here. The SD card method and the fast boot method. Fast boot method is through the USB to micro USB using a host machine. And the method that Lawrence was just talking about is using an SD card where you flash the SD card on your host machine, and then you put the SD card in your Dragon Board, and you kind of just blindly go about it. There is a GUI, a user interface that pops up, and you would normally use your mouse, hover over, click it, hit install, but there are also hotkeys. So Lawrence is just saying hit I, hit enter, and then it will start installing. You kind of got to play it by ear. Usually takes a few minutes, expand for a few more, and you should be fine. Cool. I hope that answers the question there. All right. What do we got next? Are we porting workloads? Oh, this is one for Jorge here. And are we good porting workloads across the boards? Or wait, is this referring to KVM, or is this just workloads in general?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question either. Maybe he'll type something else in here in a second. Feel free to speak up too if you like, JMR or Jagan. All right, so Ron, do I need to PM my name to someone for the giveaway? So I was going to make these announcements at the end, but I guess might as well do it now since this is the most people I've seen on the call since we started. But there is going to be a giveaway, as we've announced several times throughout the last few weeks, for Dragon Board 410C. It is at the end of a 3-part mini-series where we will be going over, first of all, unboxing a Dragon Board 410C from the moment it gets to your door, unboxing it, everything, safety tips. And Lawrence King will probably be there to chime in and give us also some other tips and maybe talk about some of the cool things that he did with the board while kind of helping make it. Then in episode 2 of the mini series, Lawrence is going to show us a nice demo that he put together using the Dragon board, I believe the Sensors mezzanine board that goes on top, and multiple layers of code, which is pretty cool. I won't say exactly what it is. It's going to be a surprise. And then episode 3 will actually be a live broadcast in Las Vegas. We'll have a panel of engineers up on the stage. You'll be broadcasted, whoever's there will be broadcasted on the big projector behind us, and we will do a raffle for the Dragon boards. Now, during episode 2 is when we pull your names. We're going to have a form for you. We'll have a competition rules ready for you. So essentially read the rules, make sure that you want to participate in this, and then you'll fill out a form. We're going to get various pieces of information for you. And then as soon as we draw your name, we need a way to get a hold of you. Once we get a hold of you, we're going to tell you the process for claiming your board. The odds are going to be 1 out of every 10 people will win a board. So if there's 100 people, Qualcomm is going to give away 10 boards. Very exciting. They've already promised this to us, and they have their own process of getting the boards to you without a tariff, without shipping. So it will be really cool. I'm hoping that it goes down without a hitch, right? You never know what kind of administrative background stuff is going to happen, but I'm hoping that everything just goes off perfectly, and we can get as many boards out as possible. So I hope that answered your question. The first episode is on the 15th. The second episode is on the 22nd. And the third episode, which is the giveaway, is on the 29th. Make sure you're there for the whole series, but most importantly, make sure you're there for the 22nd and the 29th. Those are the 2 important ones. And make sure you come back, right? We want you to contribute to the community in any way you can, right? Once you get your Dragon board, what are you going to do? We want you to start building stuff with it so that you can come show us here on OpenHours. All right. Great. Thank you, Ron. Thank you. It's a good question. I meant to say something about it. Could we get this thing documented somewhere? The documented as in Deepak, you're talking about documented the competition? If that's the case, we are working on a web page. There will be a web page, and I wanted to push it out today, but unfortunately I was unable to. So web page with our competition rules, etc., everything that should be going out hopefully today or tomorrow. I'm hoping, if not beginning of next week, so that right before the mini series, we can send out a blast and get everyone up to date with that, with the rules and everything. So off-topic question: are any consumer edition boards with ARM 64-bit SoC, Gig E Ethernet, and USB 3 in the pipeline? I don't know. So now you can. This is a tough question, right? So we have a bubblegum board that has a USB 3.0 port on it. That is currently the only board that is available with a 3.0 USB. Now, none of these CE boards have Ethernet. However, you can use USB to Ethernet adapters. And in fact, on the high-speed expansion header, there is the availability to expand on another USB. So technically, and I know for the Dragon board in particular and the high key, you can expand on the high-speed expansion header 1 additional USB port. Now, this gives you the opportunity to go build a mezzanine. If you don't want to utilize your USBs, your 2 USBs that you have, go build a mezzanine, expand out an Ethernet port from the high speed. I don't know if anyone else wants to give any other recommendations on that. There's quite a few developers on the call right now, but feel free to chime in. Regarding the pipeline, this I am unsure of, whether or not we are going to have more boards coming out with 3.0 USBs, and if I can recall, I'm not even sure if we do or if we're allowed to talk about it. So that's something I'll kind of leave to a surprise, maybe. I don't know. Surprise factor. SD600 eval, yes. Okay, the SD600 eval, that's another Qualcomm board. And that is a 96 boards, one of the extended versions. It does have a wait. Does it have the 3.0 or not?
No, it does not have 3.0. It's 2.0.
Okay. Great. 2.0, but that board, I mean, it's fun to play with. I haven't had a chance to play with it, so I can't really speak much to it. I don't know, maybe Lawrence can.
I haven't actually seen one yet. It's not a it's got a Qualcomm chipset on it, but it's not a Qualcomm product.
There you go. Yeah. So I believe it was made by Arrow, and yes, it has the Snapdragon 600 series. So a similar comparison to that would be Enforce 6410. Also has the 600 series chip on there. There's several boards out there, intrinsic boards that have the 600 series on there. The 600 eval I haven't had a chance to play with. So, but yeah, the extended versions are offering a lot more options to manufacturers and vendors to expand on the functionality or the ports on their boards. So it's possible that more stuff comes out with 3.0s and Ethernet too. Hope that helped out. JMR-B. If I create, so he's actually reiterating and on his question that he asked earlier. So if I created a workload, i.e. a VM on a host KVM plus a high keyboard, will it be possible to clone that workload VM and use it on another host machine created with KVM plus another board? Hope I am clear this time on porting VMs across the host. So Jorge, did that help you out there with the question?
Oh, yes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to this one. I haven't tried that, so I can check that out and see if I can get it to work.
Okay, cool. So maybe.
Well, in theory, you are able to do these things. So you can migrate VMs, but I haven't tried on ARM64.
I can't speak much to virtual machines, but I know that most of the things you develop on any of the 96 boards are easily ported across the 96 boards. It's kind of the beauty of it.
Well, I think the question, if I understand correctly, is that he wants to move his VMs from one high key to another high key, I guess.
Okay, so then.
But yeah, I haven't tried. I don't see any issues, but I'd like to try first before saying that everything works.
Great. Cool. So there you go. There was a question I wanted to bring up. It was brought to me prior to the show. So John Mark, are you still in the call?
Yes, I do. I'm waiting my turn.
Okay, it's your turn now. We got you, John Mark. He's actually one of our seasoned OpenHours veterans. I think he's been here since the first call, and he's just kind of come every week since then, along with quite a few other people in the call here too.
Right.
So
also, Mark. Okay.
I'm just going to share your.
I will be
talking your forum post.
Okay, good. I will be talking about the mezzanine because I just ordered a board and received it. Okay, my feeling is the board is not that good quality as the Dragon board anyway. The reset switch and the power switch are weak, and they are not that good quality as a Dragon board. So sometimes they make connections, sometimes not. But beside of this, the other problem is we are missing components on that, and Akiri already answered to me on an 96 board forum about this. So they are supposed to be two LEDs, D9 and D10. They are GPIO LEDs that we could use to test or to make any control, which are not mounted at all. They are not even tracked anymore on the layout. And Akiri answered that that's true. They removed these two LEDs at the last minute. But the schematic and the layout is still the wrong one. And the schematic and layout are referring to revision C, and my board is a revision C. So I don't know how those guys down there are working, because I was spending 2 hours yesterday to try to figure out why I couldn't make these LED work, and I couldn't find them. They're so small. So they are not here anymore. And my question now is this is a fact. This is not more. It's no more question. The question now is, these two LEDs were connected to the GPIO. So we are losing 2 GPIOs, and we have only 11 GPIOs on the Dragon board. So where are these signals going now if they didn't put them on the LED? So we need to know where to connect these GPIOs now on the mezzanine.
I think that is a legitimate question. I'm not sure if anyone here had the opportunity. You're talking about this one, right, John Mark? The 96 board?
Yes, the green one, the one with the AVR on it. That's true. That's the correct one.
Okay, great. So the board that I'm showing up here on the screen, maybe Chauvin can share a link to it. This is the Sensors mezzanine board. You can find it at Seed Studio or Arrow. The board itself catches onto the 96 boards.
Okay, listen, Robert, you have those LEDs on your board. You have them. They are where the number 96 is on the top. You have 2 LEDs. You see the number 96 on your board?
Yes.
You
D9
see
and
2 LEDs.
D10.
Yeah, right. I don't have them.
Well, there's no LEDs there. All there are connectors. So the LEDs weren't soldered on.
Just don't move. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Send me maybe a picture. You have components more that I don't have, so I don't have those two holes.
Okay, yeah. So these don't look like LEDs. So tiny. I don't have a magnifying glass.
That's true. I had problems too yesterday, but I don't have those 2 holes. So anyway,
okay, so
if they do different version of the boards, I would like to receive the correct board, and at least to have a board that has this connection. If they didn't put the LEDs, at least I should be able to do it myself. I think.
And I think it's very important that if you can't do it yourself, then how do you access these?
Yeah, I'm missing 2 signals. So if I want to use them, I cannot anymore. That's just an open question now. If somebody can tell me where I can connect that, or if I have to send back the board to have a new one. That's all. Okay.
No, that's great. Thank you very much for bringing that up.
No problem.
I'm going to note it here. I'm going to note it here. We'll have to talk to someone about that. Where I'm really curious about is that how come my board has those connectors and yours doesn't, right? So
what is the revision? What is the revision on your board? What is it written?
So mine's supposed to be Rev C.
Yeah, that's mine too. So somebody fool around with the layouts and change things. So
does yours say V 1.2?
It's written Rev C. That's all. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So mine says 96B sensors V 1.2.
No, I don't have that. It's another version.
Yeah. That's
okay,
unfortunate.
That's an open question, and maybe somebody should not waste time to figure out how to lit these LEDs if they are not here. So,
you know, I hate to put Yang on the spot. Yang, are you there right now? Because did you get a chance to hear John Mark's question? And I know I feel like I've heard you talk something about these boards before, but the idea is that there are 2. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, sorry. Can someone repeat the question again?
Do you want to repeat it, John Mark?
Okay. The question is, we have 2 signals going to 2 LEDs on the schematic and layout. These signals are called GPIO A5 and GPIO B5 and goes to 2 LEDs, D9 and D10. This is gone. So where are those signals going now? Because if we need more GPIOs, I'm losing 2 GPIOs.
So which board you're talking about, John Mark? Dragon board?
Mezzanine board for the Dragon board. The one that holds rubber.
So Yang, he's talking about these 2 little connectors right here at the bottom of it. So here for my board, I have the 96 boards V1.2, and I have two little connectors for D9 and D10, right?
And over the 96 also. Over the 96, we'll probably have two resistors.
Yes, but the thing is that his board does not have these connectors, so he's losing two of the signals, and he wants to know either where to get those signals or why the boards aren't consistent.
Right, that's correct. That's my question. The second thing, Akeri said they removed these LEDs because they were drawing too much current. But if you put, I answered that already to Akiri, a 1 kilo ohm with a LED, with 2 volts LEDs, it led you to a 3 volts in 1 kilo is 3 ampere per LED. It's ridiculous, so it's not true. There is some other reason, I don't know which one.
Yeah, Jean-Marc, yeah, sorry, I don't think I know the answer on top of my head, but I will check into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, if there's anyone here that can check into that, that's Yang. So he'll let us know hopefully by our next session. Great. Thank you, Yang. Really appreciate that. And thank you, John Mark, for bringing this up. It looks like there are some other people in the chat. Abraxas also didn't have those connectors on her board. So are there any other questions going on right now that you have before we kind of start the closing remarks on this call? Usually we close the call at around 8:45, 8:50. If there's plenty of questions, we'll just keep going on as far as we can. All right, so it looks like something popped up. Mr. Lawrence King, we have a question for you in the chat. Okay.
Took me a moment to find the mute button. So I haven't actually played with connecting to the internet without a display. I have a display sitting on my desk, and I always just connect the HDMI cable and use the mouse on the keyboard to turn it on and type in the password. I'm told it can be done from the command line, but I'm not familiar with the instructions for that. Possibly somebody else will know.
I think I actually got something for that. Let me see. Darn. I have something for that. So guest 38, I'm going to find that for you, and I'm going to share that with you. Do you mind sending me an email so that I can get you the link to those instructions? My email is robert.wolf@lenaro.org. If you just shoot me an email and just copy paste that question into the email, I will send you a link with those instructions as soon as possible. Is that okay? You got that? It is possible, like Lawrence said, and I've seen something around there floating around, and I know I have it somewhere. Okay, I will save that email. How about that? Thank you very much. All right, so got that saved. Well then, if there aren't any more questions, I would like to go into my closing remarks, a few more announcements, and then we can go into our after hours, which usually just ends up happening by default. We just hang out for a little bit. I'll pour myself another cup of coffee. Now, in the next 3 episodes, we are going to have a very special mini series, and it is the Dragonboard 410C mini series. And I've made this announcements already several times throughout the past few weeks. I highly suggest you all attend. We will have our own here, Lawrence King here, showing off demos, talking about the Dragonboard 410C in depth. We will be doing a Dragonboard 410C giveaway, and we will also have a great opportunity to lucky for us, have a live audience at Las Vegas on the 3rd part of this series. So it should be a lot of fun. I hope to see everyone here throughout that series. You'll learn a lot. Everyone that's from Coursera, it's kind of like a supplemental bit of material for your Dragonboard. And then hopefully I'll probably even learn a lot too. Now, on top of that, we will be sending out competition rules. We'll be sending out forms, all of this happening during that 3-part series. Besides that, there aren't many other announcements. I would like to just kind of check my list here just to make sure. But we are looking good. So for those of you who want to use this next week to catch up on the 96 boards open hours series, you can check out our playlist, which is right here. If you asked a question and you want to show your friends or your parents that you're on YouTube, then you can also do that. We have someone at one of our home offices. She goes through and she picks all the questions out and adds times for everything. It's a great effort. Her name's Jennifer. She does a great job. So after the videos post, you can probably find yourself there on the video. But yes, thank you everyone very much. This was a great episode, everyone, for participating. Thank you for all the developers who came in. I hope to see you again next week for the 96 boards open hours episode 19, the beginning of the Dragon Board 410C series, mini series. So thank you.